Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. In our last video, we have created our registration page or profile setup page. In this video, we'll continue that process and we will set up our mailbox so that we can create a mail, send a mail, view mail, and list all the mails. So let's get started. We want our user to get a page or a setup page whenever the user is not registered. So we have to create a component which will check if user is already registered by calling the smart contract and check if the profile is present or not. If the profile is not present, it will present it with some options to create a profile. So we will call it setup component. Let's call setup. Again, we'll create a functional component here, and this functional component will need all the public key, account, and contract reference from the parent. So we will create an interface for properties that it needs. Empty account. So this will be a optional component. Same goes for all the other variables. So we need accounts, public key, contract. We will also need events to, whenever these values are updated, we want these events to be fired as well. On account change, it will be void. Let me just copy this and put on register. I'll call it on register, and we will need another one for on public key change. Registered. Okay, this will be a boolean, and we want, if there is public key is changed, we want this as well. KUI, this will be a string, and this will again be a void. These are the things that we need from the setup function, and let's call the setup function. So whenever so if we have a contract, then we will set up this public key. We'll call this get public key. So first we need a function called get public key equal a sync function. So it will check if, okay, we forgot to add props. Okay, props dot contract. If contract is present, initialized, then we can we can call this get key function that we created from the contract. Let result equals await ps dot contract, and this is get key. Inside this account, oh, 1 minute. So this will be a contract. Yeah, Now we will get the result from here. If result is there, then we can get the call these events called on public key change result, and we cross on register, so it will throw registration is true. So this function, we will call this function whenever we want to check if user is already registered, so we'll get the public key, and if user is not registered, then we will click on the, we will call the generate public key function. So that will be another function called generate public key. To call the generate public key function, we need to use the MetaMask functions, which is, let me add this. So we have to directly interact with the MetaMask object. So we have to first check if window as any dot Ethereum, and if Ethereum is present, then we want to check if request is present or not. And if request is present, we also want to check if account is also present or not. If all these things are available to us, then we can call this new function. Window dot Ethereum, again as any dot request, and inside the request we have to specify method, and the method will be get an encryption public key, and the parameters will be the account. So once we have the encryption key, we will use this on public key event, on public key change. I think I can use capital P, that way it will be consistent, and we'll call this with the value key. Now we have the generate public key, we have the get public key function. Let's add another function called register. I don't know what is the correct spelling for register. So it will be a sync sync function. Yeah. If props dot contract, if contract is available to this component, we can execute this transaction contract transaction equals a props dot contract, and we are going to use the set key, this set key function, to register our user, and we are going to provide the key. So we need the key, And once this transaction is complete, transaction dot wait, we need at least one confirmation. We'll wait for that to complete, and we are done. Once we have our transaction complete, we will call the is on register true. So our parent component will know that the this component has user has registered already. Now we'll need some decorations here to have the to show the user what are the things they need to register. So I will just have some basic h1 tag which will show, okay, and let's add a component here. If is registered, then this or else that. So we'll, if it is not registered, then we will show the setup component, and in the setup component we will specify contract. Okay, we will need public key equals public key. We'll need account. Now we will need let me put it in some separate lines so that we can see it clearly. We need on account change. So value set account value. Same goes for all the other events. We need one on public key change, on register. On public key change we need set set public key set is registered. So this is what will come here. Okay, so it is showing us Dmail, this is as one mail, looks good. And what we will do, we will add a call, and inside this column we will have, if user is connected, then we will show the content here. If user is not connected, then user has to click the connect button, right? So we will have a condition props dot account. If account is present, then we will show one object. If else, it will show something else, right? Let me, so if user is not connected, we will show this, and user is connected, we will show something else. If user is connected, we want to check if user has a public key already generated or not. If the user doesn't have a public key generated, we have to show a button which will show the which will generate the public key. So what we will do, let's create a div, and inside this div we will create, we'll check another condition, public key. If public key is present, then do one thing, show one thing, else show another thing. So if public key is present, we want to display the public key. So, and if public key is not present, we want to show a button which will generate the public, which will actually trigger the generate public key event. Looks good. Yeah, so we have a generate mail ID, so we will calling it mail ID. Let's see if this works. Yes, so it will show the request encryption public key, would like to use your public encryption key, by consenting, this site will be able to compose encrypted messages to you. This is what exactly we want. We'll provide the public key. Once we provide the public key, you will be able to see the public key here. Okay, this looks good. And now once we have the public key, we want to register this public key to the smart contract. So what we will do, we will add another condition here, and we'll call if props dot public key, and if the public key is present, we will show the registered button, else we don't show anything. So if public key is present, again we will create a button here. Let me add a button from this one, and we will call register here, and we'll need the key props dot public key else, yeah, and we'll call it register public key. Yes, register. Now we have a register button. Okay, let me refresh this page. Okay, so we don't have any public key generated in this case, so we have the button to generate public key. Once we have the public key generated, we have a button to register. Let's click on register. It will create the transaction, and let's confirm the transaction. So we have to wait for this transaction to complete. Yeah, now the transaction is complete, and once the transaction is complete, this will set the on register true, and when the register true is triggered, this setup component will not be rendered anymore. So we have to now use the we will be using the main UI of our mailbox. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe, and you can get the next video of the series somewhere around here or here.